Members of the public, good afternoon, good evening. I'm going to convene our meeting with roll call. Commissioner Andrades is absent. Commissioner Field. Commissioner Fuentes.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Mack.
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray.
Present.
Commissioner Santos is here, but for the purpose of quorum, we will not count her right now. Commissioner Schlatter is on his way. Commissioner Stein. Here. Commissioner Thomas is absent. Commissioner Gadd is absent. We have quorum. Great. We will move on to our first item on the agenda, which will be public comment. I'll hand it over to the Executive Director to administer public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. We are going to take in-person public comment first. For those in the room, we're grabbing the list right now. I will call 3 people at a time. When I call your name, please come up. This is a 1-item agenda, so 1 item plus general public comment is 2 minutes. I'll ask you to let me know if you're speaking for 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll set a timer and do a 30-second warning for when you're nearing your end. And then we'll pivot to virtual public comment for those who are online, and my colleague Kate will assist me with that as well. And then we'll do one final sweep in the room in case we miss anyone. So, having said that, I am going to call the first 3 people. It is James Samuel and Felice. James Samuel and Felice, please come up to the lectern. And we'll get started. Hold on, let me switch over the camera as well. Make sure you're on camera as good as possible. This is not a game.
Okay.
1 second.
5 minutes.
We can do better. A little better. Oh, you're just too tall.
Get a shirt.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. And before you get started, I just want to know for minutes that Commissioner Schlatter is doing this.
Okay. On. 2 minutes go.
Honored Commissioners, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm here to speak in favor of the police reform charter amendments raised by the Personnel and Budget Committee. I have been in attendance at many of these subcommittee meetings, including all of the past 2 police reform ones, and I've read the letters from Ground Game, the DSA, LA Ford, and more, which are full of passionate, persuasive, well-researched positions. What I wish to relate to you today is a moment that I found telling from Deputy Chief Bill Rockaway of the Professional Standards Bureau. This happened 1 week ago. The department's position appears to consist of the fact that their internal processes are currently under review and that the recommendations for this commission will come in February, a timing which I would note would not give this board enough time to research or consider the policies but would cast doubt on the current recommendations before the board. However, when asked what sorts of professional improvements he would recommend, Deputy Chief Rockaway talked about how proud he was of 2 innovations throughout his career. He described these as both cutting edge and against policy at the time. Those innovations were that officers use deadly force only as a last resort and that they be required to de-escalate potentially deadly situations. Honored Commissioners, I bring this before you as an example of institutional rot, of the lack of urgency, the disrespect that our LAPD leadership has in their dealings with the public, a disrespect that stems from the charter of this city. Commissioner Stein, you asked many good questions 30 seconds. The Bureau of Street Services and Street Lighting as to how they could do their jobs more cost effectively. I would note that the Bureau of Pavement got $111 million last year, and we paid $155 million in general liability. I'm here to hope that you would consider reforms to general liability, to the reforms to the police review process, and to the Board of Rights and Commission composition. I believe this to be the most significant, impactful work this body can do. Thank you so much for your time.
And 2 minutes, thank you so much. Let us try and adjust this lectern. And while we're doing that, we do have translation services available. If our translators can make that announcement, please.
Buenas tardes, tenemos servicios de traducción. Si alguien requiere traducción en español, por favor deje a uno de nosotros saber.
That's better. Maybe. There we go. Teamwork. Thank you so much, sir. I'm guessing you're Samuel?
Yes, sir.
1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay, and begin.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Samuel Rice. I'm a member leader with the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. I want to talk about time, because time is something black workers lose every day under these systems.
Can I ask you to speak a little more directly into the microphone?
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Years spent studying for exams that do not measure our skills. Months waiting in hiring pipelines that never move. Time lost while rent goes up and families struggle. Meanwhile, city leaderships move quickly when it comes to policing. LAPD is hiring at an accelerated rate, with hundreds of new officers planned and millions of dollars being searched for mid-year, even without a clear funding source. Black workers notice that speed. We notice who the city rushes to support and who is told to wait. Charter reform is not abstract for us. It is about stopping the theft of our time and dignity. It is about creating pathways into stable city jobs that allow black workers to stay housed, provide for our families, and build real safety. Please support LADWC's recommendations and make workforce equity real. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next, please.
Yes, I'm police against
1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Go.
This what we're talking
A little
about.
closer to the mic.
Sure.
Thank you.
Dignity for black workers and a city that reflects its people. As a member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center, from Biddy Mason to grandparents to parents that helped build Los Angeles, yet we remain unrepresented in the quality of the jobs that the city provides, including the police department. The charter written for a segregated city cannot build an equitable future. Let's see. It says, the slogan says it's on buses and everywhere you want to see. Los Angeles is for everyone. Well, it's about time to start looking that way. Reforming the charter is the path towards a workforce that reflects the diversity and dignity of Los Angeles, and not just for a few people. I see this constantly. The people who can afford to take their children and entire families to these sports events, work construction.
30
They
seconds.
don't look like us. None of them look like us. And it's about time to stop. And I don't know how y'all can sleep at night knowing that this is going on. It needs change and it needs it now. Thank you.
Thank you. The next three speakers are Godfrey, Olivia, and I think that's Ryan Johnson, or Ryder Johnson. Godfrey, Olivia, and Ryan Johnson. Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, and on. Go.
Thank you so much to staff, personnel, and budget, and now the full commission for discussing possible police reforms relevant to the city charter. I'm here to uplift LA Forward's recommendations, which you received late Tuesday night. But more importantly, I want to uplift the public call for you to move forward on these reforms, which I know you've heard via more than 130 emails you've received from our community members in the last 24 hours. Community members are excited to hear that this commission desires real accountability and transparency when it comes to the police department. We have your back as you email the reforms that are elected dodged for quite some time, and are eager to support you with any community capacity we have as you pursue your work incisively and comprehensively. In particular, we want to highlight item 8 under police reform, calling for reforms that move payout for liability costs from the general fund to the department. The controller has reported that almost $400 million in police liabilities have been taken from the general fund over the last 5 years. The general fund is the same fund that pays for key services and maintenance of our communities, support for youth, parks, and more. $400 million could fund mental health based on our crisis response services citywide for a decade. Through the charter, we can move our system of liability payouts from the general fund to the department implicated in the harm. We've included an example from Minneapolis in our letter for your reference, and we also recommend calling on expert Dr. Joanna Shorts of UCLA, who has compared liability structures and their outcomes across various major cities, including New York, DC, and Chicago. Additionally, we hope that you move forward reforms aligned with items 9 and 10, which ask to re-examine accountability of the Board of Rights and the Police Commission. The Board of Rights is a 3-person civilian panel that decides how officers accused of misconduct are disciplined. The process frequently results in penalties too lenient on problematic officers. We hope that you take these into account. In Section 571, we also know that LAPD is governed not by the mayor or council, but a police commission made of appointees. This commission is not enough for people to be able to hold accountable for the hiring, firing practices, and outcomes coming out of LAPD's work. We have to move forward with these recommendations. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Olivia Barber. I'm a member. 2 minutes.
And go.
My name is Olivia Barber. I'm a member of the LA Black Workers Center. I understand that we can make history here today by making this charter equitable in hiring. The city is worth its workers, and right now there is a black hiring crisis going on in the city of Los Angeles. By reforming this charter, we can bring equity to this city. It would make for safer neighborhoods, better services, and it's about time that we've done this. It's long overdue. Unfortunately, this charter can only change once every 100 years. I'd like to see you make some history here today by making a change. No one knows what we need better than we do in our neighborhoods and in this city. Please stand with us. Maybe you don't live here in the city, and you're not facing a job crisis yourself. You're all working, but we are, and we know what we need here. We need help. We need your help. We need your help now.
30 seconds.
And I thank you for listening to us and addressing this problem as soon as possible. Thanks so much for your time, Commissioners.
1 or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, and it is Ryan Johnson. My
Ryan,
name is thank you all for a comment. The LAPD cannot, 2 minutes, the LAPD cannot be trusted and needs to be checked through structural reform. This year alone, they've hired beyond their budget and they've lied about their use of tear gas and rubber bullets on civilians. I say this as a civilian that they use tear gas and rubber bullets on. I'm not a policy wonk on this topic, so I'm not here to pitch a solution. There's other people in this room who are better read on this than I am. But I know that they have too much freedom to disobey the law and they need to be restrained. When an officer breaks the law, it takes multiple rounds of meetings for them to be held accountable. And when the department breaks the law, it takes years to be held accountable if they are held accountable at all. That allows the department to internalize a belief that they can do whatever they want. However we change the system, we need to shorten the delay between when the LAPD makes a mistake and when they feel the consequences of that mistake. Otherwise, they'll keep spying on us, beating us, gassing us, and shooting us. They promise to protect and serve, and we need to make sure that under this new charter, they're held to that promise. We do that by shortening and cutting bureaucratic red tape. Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing is
2 minutes, please.
Robert, 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Thank you. First, I'd like to restate the importance of reforming LAPD liability payouts. I would like to restate my previous suggestion where if we don't place the liability payments onto the general operating budget of the force, that it should be placed on the individual officers where they would be required to carry a personal professional liability insurance policy. Second, I would like to reply to Commissioner Field's previous comments about traffic stops and community safety. We should remember that patrol officers are armed and dangerous, trained in violence, and tasked with leveraging that violence against citizens who authorities have perceived as dangerous. Armed and dangerous agents of violence should not be tasked with community work where a significant threat does not exist. And again, I would like to recommend not allowing armed officers to make pretextual traffic stops where there's not an immediate threat to community safety. Thirdly, I'd like to speak about the language suggested for protection of public protest. I'm concerned about the language recommended that the charter should recognize public protest as distinct and protected speech separate from, quote, riots and unlawful disturbances. I'm concerned about the language unlawful disturbances, as I have seen the LAPD use this type of language to claim that a peaceful assembly is an unlawful event, and therefore use that claim to justify increasing violence and making arrests against peaceful protesters. I believe that protest that does not involve violence, actively riotous behavior, or threats against individuals in the public should be considered protected speech and legal protest. Thank you.
Robert? 1 or 2 minutes?
2, please.
Go.
So I didn't realize charter reform happens so rarely, so I did want to recommend the concept of integration of the police, fire, and medical officers into centralized stations, because it's clear that the mental states of your police officers are not appropriate, and it might be that the integration of these types of personalities will enable them. I'm not from here, but I have witnessed grave misconduct of the point where superior intervention seems to be required. Because your city seemed to take action to reprimand or mentally rehabilitate the officers who are acting in such violence against the people. And yeah, that's all I like to say. I really recommend that you integrate a program where officers that are even accused of committing these atrocities of excess violence on the street are immediately put into a program of mental rehabilitation, because at this point, yes, the threat level that the police are imposing onto the public appears to require the intervention of a superior to you at the state level, and that would be very inappropriate. Well, it wouldn't be inappropriate, but it would be very bad looking on you. So, thank you for your time, and you have a beautiful building here. What do I say?
Thank you, Katie. After Katie, we have, I think it's Cal from LA Black Workers, Joshua and Sharon. Kay, Joshua, and Sharon. Kate, 1 or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, please.
And go.
The fact that we're here asking you guys to include police reform in the charter tells us everything we need to know about police in this city. That it's completely correct. Because we shouldn't have to beg you to include police reform in the city charter. The LAPD needing reform is like the biggest pop culture non-secret in America. I mean, it is pop culture. Everybody knows that LAPD is problematic, and we can give you all the facts, we can give you the numbers, you already know them. You do. And I'm here to tell you right now, Justin Ramirez, you do not pay attention to anybody that is up here. And I've heard that it's you who has been blocking this from actually making it to the charter. I have no idea if that's true. But I will say, if police reform does not end up included in the city charter, every single person in LA can guarantee that whoever is part of this is bought and paid for, or their life is being threatened. And if you're being threatened, go public. If you're bought and paid for, we're gonna find out. Because LA, the people in this community that are the most affected are the people of color. So if you are not listening, all that tells me is that you are here. Oh yeah, please, look at your fucking manicure. You are acting like this does not matter. People's lives are at risk. I am out there every day. You want to know who starts the violence? It's the LAPD. I've been at every protest this year, every single one. They are peaceful. peaceful, and then the LAPD shows up with their fucking horses and their less than lethals and their tear gas, and they create chaos. They look for any excuse to cause chaos so they can play with their toys. And also, let's talk about the shadow budget. If you guys got into that, it should concern everybody that our local police is being funded by a foreign country. That is true. There is our budget that we pay for, and then they are funded by other people. And that should concern everybody. And they are not serving the people. I don't care what you say. If you do not include police reform in the charter, every single person in this city will know exactly what you guys care about, and it is not the people of LA. You are not keeping them safe. Nobody is safe on the streets from LAPD. They do not show up to ICE raids. They do not show up to ICE raids and ask for identification. You know what they do? They point their guns at people like me who are trying to film. They try to arrest people like me who are documenting the illegal actions. You're here trying to stand up to the federal government. And LAPD, I'm going to follow you. I don't care. I don't care. This is important. Police reform is important. The people in this city are being hurt, they're being incarcerated, and they're being killed. For things that are not their fault. You can drag me out, because by the way, every time we show up to city council and police commission, we are dragged out. I'm so sorry. Oh, hi. Yeah, we are dragged out. We are dragged out. Standing up for the rights, the Second Amendment rights.
Speaker, there are a whole bunch of people that want to talk. They get a
So
turn
that's the
too.
problem with me talking.
So they're going to get a talk.
But people do not have a problem. Only people in this city that have a problem with people speaking to people
you're
like you.
disrupting the
I don't give a
meeting.
shit what you think. They don't give a
So,
shit.
Mr.
People
Chair,
harass me.
I
I don't
recommend you
care.
reject the speaker
All
for
of
disrupting
you,
the meeting.
the people who make the decisions in this city, you drag everybody who dares to stand up to you out in any council. You should be ashamed.
Yes. Sorry, state your name.
Somebody turn the chair's mic off.
State your name.
I get two. Take two.
Sorry, what was your name again?
Joshua Dewey Jeffries.
Joshua, okay, I've got are you K behind him? Or how? Okay, oh, perfect, okay, just want to make sure I got you both. All right, either or, go for it. 2 minutes.
All right. Like I said, my name is Joshua Jeffries. Proud member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. City leadership says safety is the top priority, but safety has been narrowed to policing alone. LAPD has exceeded its budget. Millions more are being sought to expand police hiring, even as the city faces projected deficit. At the same time, Los Angeles is down hundreds of civilian professional staff, the workers who keep city services running every day. Hiring across departments is stalled, and black workers remain locked out of stable public sector jobs. This is not fiscal responsibility, this is structural neglect. It's a decision to fund enforcement while allowing the system that actually holds our city together to wither. Black workers deserve a city that invests in jobs and public safety strategy, not as an afterthought. Charter reform is how we realign our values with our spending. Please adopt LABWC's workforce equity reform. And I wanted to add a couple things while I was at it. I'm a U.S. Marine. I'm big on the rules of engagement, so I don't like what's going on with the police department, and as well as ICE and feds. But last thing I want to say is the last thing I want to say is
30 seconds.
Work is deeply intertwined with the issues of homelessness, incarceration, occupational segregation, and unemployment, all issues that disproportionately impact black communities. And the Los Angeles Black Workers Center develops authentic leadership among black workers and organizing their communities to reverse unemployment and underemployment. So I feel like our voices should be heard based on, our actions in the community. Right on, right.
Thank you so much. And our next speaker, after our next speaker, we have Sharon, Isaac, and Justine. Sharon, Isaac, and Justine, please line up. 1 or 2 minutes, sir. 1 or 2 minutes? 1?
1 minute, please. Thank you.
And go.
My name is Eugene Hargrove, and I am a proud member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. What we are seeing right now is that when city leadership decides something matters, the rules suddenly move. Police hiring gets fast-tracked through executive actions, but when Black workers ask for fair access to city jobs, we are told
30 seconds.
cannot change. Pardon me?
30 seconds.
The difference is not about process, it's about priorities. Charter reform is how we make sure equity is not optional or delayed. Please adopt LABWC's workforce equity reforms and make fair hiring the standard, not the exception. Happy holidays and thank you.
Thank you so much. Sharon Isaac Justin? Okay. I'll do your last. Isaac, 1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes, please.
Good.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Isaac Wilf. I'm here to voice my support of the policing reforms recommended by the LA Forward Institute. The current charter structure does not address accountability for the police department and for their missteps and liability costs. LA has spent $1 billion over the last 5 years on legal settlements, not just for the police department, but across departments, and that money is taken directly out of the general fund. In the last year, fiscal year 2024 to 2025, $281 million went into settlements. Of that, $151 million came from the police department, $68 million for civil rights abuses and excessive force, $37 million for traffic collisions, $28 million for professional negligence, and then also, additionally, not just from the police, $55 million came from street services. This money comes from the general fund for LA. It doesn't come from those departments. We need aligned incentives. Departments must have financial consequences for their actions so that taxpayer dollars go to the services that we all need. Parks, roads, services, not settlements. Make departments request additional funding to cover lawsuit costs, forcing transparency about whether issues are actually resolved. Regarding discipline, the 2022 LAPD Inspector General found that most officers who wrongfully opened fire faced little to no punishment. Please also consider reforming or eliminating the current Board of Rights process to ensure discipline is fairly administered so that it actually deters misconduct. Thank you.
Justin? Yep, 1 or 2 minutes.
2, please.
Good.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'm adding my voice in support of recommendations put forward by LA Forward, Ground Game, Councilman Soto Martinez, and as the written comment shows, many other Angelinos, to consider specific concrete charter changes on the subject of police reform. Their alleged last resort use of force is all too frequently the first response, as I personally witnessed at both peaceful protests when it corralled families out of the way of tear gas, and emergency response calls when the passing stranger, the person who called 911 for me when I was unable to, was made to lay face down on the shoulder of the 110 with guns drawn. I'll give you one guess what he looked like. We've seen repeatedly that the police department is either unwilling or incapable of governing themselves, so in specific, I ask that you include in your final recommendations amending Section 571 to update the Police Commission to a model of actionable accountability, including a considerable revamp of the Board of Commissioners regarding appointees and authoritative powers. Protect free speech via Section 574 to include a provision to explicitly delineate protests as separate from riots, and protecting the safety of journalists to document them, and by any means necessary limiting their use of pretextual stops. I urge us to keep these reforms in high focus, as while there are many, many proposals and amendments for you to consider between now and March, keeping public safe from law enforcement, those theoretically hired to protect them, is without hyperbole a matter of life and death. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll have Sharon. Perfect. Sharon, after Sharon, I'm going to have line up Rob, Kaishi, and John. Rob, Kaishi, and John. Sharon, how long would you like? 1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes, please.
And go.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sharon May King, and I'm a proud member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center and a parent. When city leaders talk about public safety, I think about what actually keeps my family safe. Stable jobs, affordable housing, city services that work, not police presence. We know that when Black workers have access to unionized city jobs with living wages and pension, violence go down, families stay housed. We also know that when those jobs are blocked through biased hiring system, instability follows. Right now, LAPD has already exceeded its budget, and city leaders is pushing to hire 100 more officers, even as the city faces a growing deficit and workers across departments are asked to sacrifice. This is not neutral choice. It is a decision about whose safety matters. Charter reform is a public safety strategy. Please adopt Los Angeles Black Workers Center workforce equity reforms and invest in the Black workers as a way to keep our community safe. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now it's Rob Cashew. John, Rob, 1 or 2 minutes.
I'd have somebody distribute this for the commissioners. Have a handout.
Go ahead. 2 minutes. Go.
2 minutes, thank you. Rob Vaughn, I would love to spend my time talking about how you could consolidate your committees to be a lot more effective in deliberation, or my ideas for periodic charter review that might address some of the things Commissioner Field brought up Tuesday, but there's no time for that. Ultimately, I am a policy nerd that just wants a better city, and I'd rather be focused on the issues, but I can't ignore a process that isn't just broken, but intentionally designed to fall apart. And please know, before you feel bad for Raymond, know that I did everything I could to reach out and try to avoid going here. I waited a long time and I got ghosted. That's it. So, know that this is why things are ratcheting up. I'm sick and tired of commissioners asking basic questions and hearing I'll have to get back to you 95% of the time. I don't care if you say departments are suddenly going to be helping you write reports. We need a live body at that table that can answer questions as they come up. Please. I don't want you to be shy. This summer, I brought up Rafe Sonnenshine's book. He gave you a bunch of copies. Raise your hand if you read his book cover to cover. So I just want, that also includes the staff, Justin, because if you had actually read it, you wouldn't be so embarrassed of yourself as much. So please take your time over this recess to catch up. If you've read it a long time ago, refresh yourself. I understand the desire to wait on
30 seconds.
the LAPD item, but we can't waste a meeting on this. There's a whole bunch of other things to get to. This executive director's report, how many times are we going to get this an hour before the meeting? Are you ever going to ask for actual accountability? If we have to submit public comment today in advance, why can't he? Why doesn't he actually mention a breakdown of the schedule and the changes that are happening? Why doesn't he mention that a few weeks ago, the council approved a bunch of charter-related items? Why doesn't he include the fact that they considered Monica Rodriguez's motion to require ex parte communications disclosure? Why doesn't he mention that there's an advisory committee that's been set up and had a meeting to look at our city finances, a 2-year budget, reforms, a lot of the stuff you're doing? Justin.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Cashew. Yeah, come up, 2 minutes.
I think everybody wants a copy. It's on the appearance standard.
It's Cashew's turn, thank you. 2 minutes, go.
Okay, 2 minutes. Good afternoon, commissioners. I am Kaisha Hunley, and I am an organizer of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. Right now, Black workers are being asked to sacrifice in the name of budget responsibility. City workers are told to take unpaid days, civilian hiring is stalled, and families are left more financially unstable. At the very same time, police overtime is banked and police hiring continues to accelerate. That is not shared sacrifice. That is a transfer of harm. It shifts instability onto Black workers while protecting systems of enforcement. When stable jobs are taken away or delayed, housing insecurity rises and community safety declines. We know this pattern because we live it on a day-to-day basis, every day. Charter reform is how we interrupt that harm. Please support Los Angeles Black Workers Center's workforce equity recommendations and prioritize Black workers as a real public safety strategy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. John? After John, I have Sherry, Ted, and, wait, that's Sherry. Is that, do I have two Sherrys or just one? Yes. Okay, two Sherrys, making sure. Sherry, Ted, and other Sherry, after John. 1 or 2 minutes. Go.
The fact that there is not a specific committee to LAPD reform or affordable housing shows how out of touch this city is. Either you're unaware of what the voters want, or you're deliberately ignoring them. Do you know the reputation that LAPD has in this country, in this city? This is your opportunity to change that or perpetuate it. LAPD doesn't manage the officers or money they have now. They don't do it responsibly. They shouldn't have more of either one until there is stronger, responsible oversight. On the night of September 16th, there was a march from the Mexican consulate to the detention center. When we arrived, the LAPD had already blocked off the street. There was almost as many officers as there were protesters. Common for LAPD to send response far exceeding what was necessary. They always seem to know how to overdo it. That night, they blocked the street at the intersection, forcing the protesters to stand in cross traffic. This created a hazard for the citizens just demonstrating their First Amendment rights. This is not public safety. It was either poor management or deliberately putting protesters in harm's way. That same night, there was a serious accident on the 101 that was 100 yards away from where these officers were standing. I went to the officer in charge and explained to him there's a serious accident, at least 3 cars and a motorcycle, and someone laying on the ground with a sheet over them. Can you please send help? He said, no, that's not my jurisdiction. I understand jurisdiction, but I also understand protecting and serving. That sergeant didn't, and none of the 60 officers there did. Half the protesters left and went down on the freeway, and they provided traffic control. They provided first aid to those in need, not the officers. This was their opportunity to protect and serve. They were not serving the citizens. They were not protecting the citizens. They were protecting an empty street and their paychecks, and they were serving the federal government, not our citizens. They should not have more resources. They should not have more officers or more money until there is responsible, legitimate oversight. Thank you.
First, Sherry. Sherry, 1 or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, please. How y'all doing today? My name is Sherry Marshall, and I'm a member of LAPWC. I want to talk about time, because time is something Black workers lose every day under these systems. Years spent studying for exams that do not measure our skills. Months waiting in hiring pipelines that never move. Time lost while rent goes up and families struggle. Meanwhile, city leadership moves quickly when it comes to policing. LAPD is hiring at an accelerated rate, with hundreds of new officers planned and millions of dollars being searched for mid-year, even without a clear funding source. Black workers notice that speed. We notice who the city rushes to support and who is told to wait. Charter reform is not abstract for us. It is about stopping the theft of our time and dignity. It is about creating pathways into stable city jobs that allow Black workers to stay housed, provide for our families, and build real safety. Please support LAPWC's recommendations and make workforce equity real.
Thank you so much. Ted? I've got a Ted. Are you? Is there a Ted? No Ted? Oh, okay. We'll do that separately. Then Sherry, number 2. 1 or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, please.
Go for it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sherry Bell, and I'm a member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. For Black workers, this is not a technical debate. It's about survival. A stable city job can be the difference between staying housed or being pushed out, between consistent health care or crisis, between stability or constant fear. Right now, city leadership is urging City Council to find $4.4 million immediately to accelerate police hiring, even as the city faces a projected $91 million deficit, and workers across departments are asked to make sacrifices. Police hiring is treated as urgent and non-negotiable. Workforce equity is treated as optional. This imbalance is not neutral. It's harmful, and it tells Black workers that our lives are less worthy of investment. Charter reform is how we correct this harm and this humanitarian crisis in our city. Because if you care about Angelenos, that must include addressing the harms of Black workers. Please support LABWC's recommendations and invest in Black workers as a matter of survival, dignity, and justice. Thank you.
The last we have on our list, at least for right now, is Eugene, and then we're going to pivot to online public comment, and then we'll come back, and then we'll come back to one last pass for in the room. Eugene? 1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Alrighty, and go.
So my name is Ken. I gave Eugene my time earlier because he had things to do. I am a member of the Black Workers Center. All the people that you've seen speak today are all members of our community, members of Los Angeles, who have different dreams and goals, families to take care of. They're trying to make differences in their lives. And they're all here today because they're trying to do something that we've been doing for generations. We are trying to fight an ongoing generational Cold War against our community and our people, and we will not stop showing up until we see a difference in the city, in this country, and for our community in general. So we will not stop seeing our faces, we will not stop seeing our leaders, we will not stop seeing our people until we see justice. A wise man once said, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice anywhere. If you believe that man, and you believe in his dream, you will listen to the people in this community, you will listen to the people who are struggling, you will listen to the people who struggle to eat and survive every single day. So you may not think about us now, you may not think about us next week, next month, next year, but you will keep seeing us, you will keep fighting, we will keep rolling deep, because this is a war against our people, and we will not stop fighting. So, all we ask is that you adopt our recommendations, our workforce equity recommendations, and just continue to expect to see us in the future. That's it.
And hopefully this next clip works out. I'm going to pass it over to Kate.
All right, we're going to start remote public comment. Our first speaker is Isabella. Isabella, how much time would you like?
While the speaker's getting ready, Mr. Chair, could we note Commissioner Schlager and Commissioner Sanchez have been here for quite a bit of time and listening to all this testimony?
Yes. Commissioner Sanchez.
Isabella, how much time would you like?
Isabella, can you hear us? She's off mute. Let's try the next person.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Our next speaker is going to be Danielle.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How much time would you like? 1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes, please.
All right, 2 minutes starting now.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Danielle Williams. I live in Council District 5, and I'm an LA Ford community member. First of all, thank you for considering reforms to the charter that would ensure stronger accountability, oversight, and transparency of the LAPD. I ask that you pass as many of the reforms highlighted in LA Ford's letter as possible to the full Commission for discussion. In particular, I'd like to uplift item 8, which is frequent accountability by requiring LAPD to pay legal settlements out of their own budget, not the general fund. We, the taxpayers, currently bear the burden of paying for harm done by the work of any city departments, including the LAPD, which is particularly obscene in the case of LAPD, since they are the people who are supposed to be responsible for protecting us. And instead they harm LA residents, particularly our brown and black neighbors, and those exercising their constitutional and human right to protest, and then make us pay for it, which results in a degradation of services provided to our community. It's absolutely perverse. I would also hope that in Section 1070, the Commissioners will improve the accountability and transparency of the Board of Rights, up to and including the elimination of the Board of Rights, which would call the city to specify a better person or body to account for police discipline. The existence of the all-civilian option of the Board of Rights should be particularly galling for all Angelinos, since the charter measure that was passed that allowed it was placed on the ballot in an off-cycle election, by the way. It was in May, and it was the only item on the ballot. It was the result of a backroom deal between former Mayor Garcetti and the police union, and the language specifically misled voters into thinking that they were getting more civilian oversight from police officers, when we know that in reality it meant less. The process allows top city and public police officials to espouse stiff penalties publicly, while quietly and behind the scenes, the Board of Rights lessens or overturns penalties or does not administer them at all. In fact, in 2022, the LAPD Inspector General, this is from the LAPD, released a report finding that most officers.
Our next speaker is going to be Matt.
Avoiding too much.
Matt, how much time would you like?
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, starting now.
Good evening, my name is Matt Simon. I live in Mid-City West. I'm a member of LA Forward. I'm hoping the city charter process can lead to more accountability, more oversight, and transparency for the LAPD. A healthy city has a police force that is under meaningful democratic civilian control and that respects civilian control. Right now, neither of these is true. We should require LAPD to pay legal settlements out of their own budget and on the general fund. We cannot allow the results of LAPD misconduct, which is rampant, to drain general fund resources we need for so many vital city functions. Right now, the Police Commission is failing to govern the police effectively. The Charter Commission should consider whether the current system of a mayoral appointed police commission is sufficient to the important task of holding LAPD accountable, and what, if any, other structures of governance and oversight deserve consideration. The Charter could be clarified to ensure that the mayor and council have clear power for some combination of hiring, firing, and setting policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Glenn. Glenn, how much time would you like?
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, starting now.
Hi, my name is Glenn Bailey. I am an officer with the Los Angeles Neighborhood Council Coalition, the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, as well as co-chair of the Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates. I do want to personally advocate for, and it relates to the budgeting process, a more formal role for neighborhood councils to weigh in, to discharge our responsibilities to advise the city in the budgeting and delivery of city services. And I would like to include specifically something that's in the charter that allows for some sort of a mechanism where a number of neighborhood councils adopting a resolution, a similar resolution in various areas of the city, could initiate a council file, and open up a council file, just like the council member can do by making a motion. There are 12 service regions under the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. It could be a number of those, one neighborhood council for a number of those, so there's diversity across the city as a minimum in order to do that. That would allow us to bring up issues that are not now being addressed. And then in closing, just a reminder, the Budget Advocates presented in, I believe, September, recommendations with regards to the budgeting process, including multiple year, 2-year budget cycle. It is right now very tight in terms of the review. When it gets to City Council, it's like 10 days. Does not allow for robust public input or for neighborhood councils. So perhaps a 2-year cycle would not only make that more robust, but also free up city staff time that's very intense for a good number of months every single year. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Our next speaker is going to be Christian. Christian, how much time would you like?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. How much time? 1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes would be great.
All right, 2 minutes, starting now.
I did forward some comments to the email, so I hope that will be reviewed eventually as well. But I wanted to start off by saying that I definitely am in favor of what I've heard before about police must pay their own settlements. I think that a proposal requiring LAPD to pay legal settlements should be from their own budget. and this would allow for financial responsibility with the department. And in addition to that, I really also like that people are proposing for an end to pretextual traffic stops, because those do harm people of color disproportionately. So I think that that should be moved over to an unarmed traffic enforcement bureau, or maybe the parking enforcement. And in addition to that, I think there should be a mandatory review of the charter every 10 years. So I believe the last time the charter was reviewed and reformed significantly was when I was a child, and I'm now getting into my middle age. So I think it should be every 10 years that it has to be reviewed and reformed, although not necessarily, it could be like essentially like the citizenry would say, yes, we want charter reform, and that would kick off the process. I think that should be a thing. And I think that the commission should be much more democratic. My email did outline some suggestions, but essentially, I think that we should make the commissions at least have one union member. Every commission should have a member of the union on it. And I don't think that there should be more than one landlord or more than one CEO or former CEO or a member of the board of directors for a profit corporation. So I think we should limit that kind of corporate power and then increase.
Enough time. Thank you, Christian. Our next speaker is Denali.
Yes, hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How much time would you like?
I'm requesting 2 minutes, please.
All right, 2 minutes, starting now.
Yes, hi, I am Reverend Dr. Donnelly Benjamin Smith. I am a resident here in Los Angeles, and I want to really lift up a couple of items. Number one, I hope that the reform that we will see in the charter will reflect the equity and the justice that we are all fighting for and standing up for and have spoken for today and will continue to speak for. We aren't going anywhere. We will continue to push this commission for the proper reforms. I want to illuminate item number 8 regarding the insurance, and that officers should carry some of their own liability insurance, as well as seeking to have reform of how often the charter is reviewed. It should be 7 to 10 years, but this needs to be reviewed. Any good agency or department reviews their policies on a consistent, regular basis. And so it should be every 7 to 10 years. And then the third thing I want to add is that you all agendize ICE raids and LAPD's involvement in ICE raids going forward in this commission, because that is not so adequately represented. And thank you for the time. And we do hope again that this reform to the charter will create further equity, justice for the citizens of LA, not just for the politicians and not just for the deep pocket corporations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jeremy. Jeremy, how much time would you like?
2 minutes, please.
All right, 2 minutes, starting now.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Jerry Payne. I'm a representative of Calais, California. These last 6 months, I have seen Angelenos use their 2 minutes of public comment to ask that policing and community safety receive the time and attention it deserves as an agendized item for the full commission. Only after repeated attempts were Angelenos given a forum to speak on the matter as an agenda item, and that was through the Personnel and Budget Committee. During the committee's December 11th meeting on policing and community safety reform, the room that you're in right now actually was filled with residents who shared their stories and community organizations that offered their recommendations for improvement, including Calais, California, Ground LA, the League of Women Voters, and LA Forward. That evening, the community heard more than an hour of public comment and reviewed detailed recommendations from trusted community advocates. The committee's inability to provide complete recommendations to the full commission today does not reflect polarizing opinions among commissioners on these issues. Rather, it reflects the rushed timeline imposed on this committee compared to others. I ask that all commissioners review the public comments and presentations from December 11th on, so that this commission's final recommendations can be rooted in and shaped by the perspectives of Angelenos who spoke before you. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go back to Isabella. Hi, Isabella. Yes, we can hear you. How much time would you like?
2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes, starting now.
Hi, my name is Isabel Melendez, and I'm a Hollywood resident. In addition to expressing support for LA Forward, Ground Game LA's, LABWC's, and many others' proposals for charter reforms across the board, I want to highlight the urgency of accepting these reforms in whole and without exceptions. I want to highlight ending pretextual stops as one instance of this, since there was some hesitancy in Tuesday's meeting. Reform of LAPD's pretextual stops has slogged on for years. The limits are not enough. The 2022 reform approved by the LA Police Commission did not end stops, and according to the LA Times, the June 2024 vote of the City Council to gather data on ending pretextual stops has not panned out, with only 2 of about a dozen feasibility reports having been completed to date. And this council has a rare opportunity now to make this change and to set a new precedent. The proposed text you've been given reads an officer shall not stop or detain the operator of a motor vehicle based on a vehicle equipment violation or a non-moving, i.e. administrative violation. I urge you to accept this reform, even if you use stronger language. This proposed reform is, again, just one instance of the urgent and unique opportunity you have right now. I urge you to accept all reforms proposed by LA Forward and others to the fullest extent that you can. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker for remote public comment is Olivia. Olivia, how much time would you like?
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, starting now.
Hi, my name is Olivia and I live in Hollywood. I'm extremely supportive of changes to city government that will protect us from the LAPD. I urge the Commission to advance charter-level police reform. The current oversight system is completely inadequate and provides no meaningful accountability. I support the proposal requiring LAPD to pay legal settlements from its own budget. The department that generates the liability should be financially responsible for misconduct and not rely on the general fund. I also ask the Commission to guarantee public access to police misconduct and disciplinary data. Transparency is necessary for democratic oversight and must be incorporated at the charter level. Additionally, pretextual traffic stops create unnecessary harm, and they do not improve safety. The Commission must support reforms that end pretextual stops and shift traffic enforcement towards unarmed models that reduce harm. Charter-level change is necessary to ensure LAPD is governed by institutions accountable to the people, not solely the internal power structures. Please advance reforms that strengthen democratic control over policing through the mayor and city council. Working-class Angelenos experience disproportionate harm from the current policing practices. Charter-level reforms are necessary to create a system that prioritizes accountability and transparency. I urge you to adopt these proposed reforms, and I thank the Commission for its time.
Thank you. That concludes remote public comment.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'll do one last pass. If you would like to give public comment in the room, please line up now. All right, move the camera out. There. All right, 1 or 2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, thank you.
And go.
Commissioners, I'm Ross Weisstroffer. I'm speaking as an individual, a volunteer with the Barrett LA Coalition. And I only just saw our executive director's report, the city fabric's report, and I only had a few minutes to really look it over. So I'm just gonna start by first asking you to please request all meeting materials be posted at least 24 hours in advance so we can all be on the same page and not just have speed readers like me try to get ahead of it. But I did have the chance to speed read the city fabric report, and I saw, for instance, that 18 participants are listed as receiving mini grants, but we know the official list has 20. So I'd appreciate more details about whether that's accurate and whether or not there are other inaccuracies in this report. On another note, I have my Master's of International Affairs, and my favorite class was Programmatic Design, Monitoring, and Evaluation. And it's a mandatory class in my curriculum because it's so easy for outsiders without expertise to go into communities, spend a lot of taxpayer money, and and not actually make a whole lot of difference. In this report, I see a lot of listed activities, but where are the outcomes? Where is all this public feedback that's been gathered so we can inform all our deliberations? For instance, the report said there was a webinar with the neighborhood councils on November 20th. So how did that meeting go? What did people say? What have neighborhood councils had to say this whole time? The commissioners have asked this outreach consultant to have two-way communication with the public, but that can't happen without follow-through. So as we go on break, I asked for a full report on what feedback the public have provided over the last few months, what outcomes have been achieved by these activities, and what indicators of success will be used beyond just we talk to people. Well,
and thank you. Next speaker. And 2 minutes.
I would like 2 minutes.
And go.
And my name is Felice McGinnis once again, and I would like to address the police departments. Your recruiting needs to go further than just one group of people. You need to recruit, if you say this is a diverse city, then that police department needs to reflect that. And right now it doesn't. I have witnessed and been accosted by police, and it was totally wrong. But because I didn't have the right complexion or spoke the right language, I was handcuffed when the other person simply stated that I hit him. No evidence at all. But his word was more than mine. He was a kid, and I'm going on 71. And it happened when I was 69. This is crazy. You only recruit from one group. You need to recruit from every group if it means going into your high schools, your colleges, or wherever you need to go. But we cannot have a police department that only represents one group of people that live in Los Angeles. We've got to stop this. And all of you know what I'm talking about, so I don't need to go through it. You need to quit. This does not reflect Los Angeles. And I am not an Angelino. I am an Angelino. I'm not an Angelino. This has got to stop as well. Stop giving us labels that only support one group of people. We are a community of others. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, 1 or 2 minutes.
2 minutes, please.
Go.
I am Morris, budget advocate for Region 1, speaking as an individual. I'd like to echo the comments made by Glenn Bailey, also budget advocate. I also like to echo the concerns and comments made by the people in the room and online, by Rob Kahn, by Rob from FLA. As a budget advocate, speaking as an individual, I think that we need to have a transparent budget process. We have to ensure that all city departments, not just 1 or 2, are treated fairly, that they have sufficient funds to hire more civilian staff to provide services to all Angelinos across the city of Los Angeles. We have to ensure that city services are protected, not defunded, because many Angelinos are working class folks who are low income that depend on government to provide the services. And I am one of them. I'm a longtime resident of Council District 6, another Padillas district. And I urge, as an individual, that we need more transparency and accountability in our budget finances to ensure that the city is sustainable and that departments are not defunded, and to make sure that civilians have staff the necessary resources to provide the services. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays.
Thank you, ma'am. And 1 or 2 minutes. Go.
My name is Carlo Fuentes. I've got a few points. LAX is a nightmare driving out there, possibly with street signs on the streets painted so you know which lane you need to get in before you get to this. 2 hours, it's 20 minutes from my house to LAX, 2 hours from that point off of the 105 to pick up an arrival. Second, LA Fire Department, you don't need 5 fire trucks for homeless people that have fallen down on the street. Too much overtime, drop that. So it's only 1 big fire truck and maybe 1 paramedic. LAPD, pretextual stops. You've got private contractors out there that are monitoring people all the time. LAPD isn't allowed to do it, but they can contract to that private contractor in order to get that surveillance. The drop program, why don't we extend the retirement age of police officers to 25 years instead of paying to keep them on an extra 5 years? And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Last, Nick. Sure, and go.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Nick Caputo. I'm the Executive Director of Livable Advanced LA, a nonprofit focused on long-term governance reform, budget transparency, and institutional capacity in Los Angeles. I want to focus on a few structural issues that fall squarely within today's discussion. First, police governance. The LAPD is the only city department where binding policy can be set without a decision maker who is directly accountable to voters. That is because policy authority sits with an unelected police commission rather than city council. This structure is a core failure of accountability, and I frankly support abolishing the police commission as a separate policy setting body and transferring their authority to set LAPD policy to the city council, exercised by the public safety committee. This would place police authority under democratic control, allow reforms to be updated over time, align policy with budget authority, and eliminate the diffusion of responsibility that repeatedly undermines reform and management. Second, personnel and hiring authority. Los Angeles has made hiring slow, fragmented, and opaque. The charter diffuses hiring authority across too many actors, creating delays that harm workers, departments, and communities. The charter should clearly assign hiring authority, set enforceable timelines, and it requires standardized, transparent hiring processes across departments so it doesn't take years to make a single hire. Faster, clearer hiring is a workforce equity issue and a service delivery issue. Third, periodic charter review. Full stop. Governance reform should be a routine, not reactive. The charter should mandate a recurring review process every decade at least, with defined scope and public reporting so structural problems are addressed before they become crises. We should be thinking about what the world looks like in 2040. We can't know what that is today, but we can look at it at the time.
30 seconds.
These are three of our organization's 60 recommended reforms. They are structural, not ideological. The purpose of charter reform is to clearly assign authority, responsibility, and accountability so the public can identify who is responsible for outcomes and create a culture in Los Angeles where reform is a habit, not a reaction. Thank you for your time for the Commission's work. Take big swings. Hit multiple birds with one stone. Do not stop. Send a message and actually push. Council will say yes to things that you would be shocked they would say yes to.
And thank you. Anyone else who hasn't had their chance? You've already had your chance.
I come in peace.
What?
I come in peace. I do have something to say now.
But you've already had your 2 minutes now. And we only give everyone one chance. We only give everyone 2 minutes, to be fair.
I mean, are you guys here for personnel budget or not?
Yeah, lots of people would love to go twice, but we're going to move on.
I come in peace.
We're
I'm
good.
just going to say this really quickly.
No,
And
Speaker.
that's it.
And again, I want to be fair to everyone, and a lot of people came with a bit,
Does
you know.
anyone here have an issue with me?
So, Speaker, it does not matter. You are not getting a second bite of the apple. The commission has work to do. You had
And
a
I'm
chance.
just curious, why are you censoring the people? If this is our chance to speak, that's what this whole thing
And
is
you
for.
did. So, Speaker, you've disrupted the meeting now.
I'm not looking to
again.
disrupt.
Well, you may not be looking to, but in fact, you're doing it.
Actually, you are. You're not letting us
or
speak.
please sit down and stop disrupting the meeting so the commission can do its business.
So, I just want you to know that I'm trying to do this because I know if anyone
Speaker.
else in this room does it, you're gonna arrest them. Also, you didn't pass around those papers. I would say that
Speaker,
LAPD
please sit down and stop disrupting the meeting.
I've had meetings and I've had
Speaker,
meetings
you're still disrupting the meeting.
And everyone at City Hall says, we know that LAPD is government.
So, Speaker, Speaker.
Because we want you to bring suit. And that means we, the taxpayers, pay that money. They know LAPD is gonna break the law. They don't care. This is your job. It is about police reform. This is your job. Go ahead and throw me out. You want me to leave? I will go willingly. That's fine. I get that. And I am here fighting for everybody else.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have concluded in-person virtual public comment, and we're ready for the rest of the agenda.
So, Speaker, please.
We are moving to the next item on our agenda, which is Neighborhood Council Community Impact Statements. Are there any Neighborhood Council with approved community impact statements? Are there any online? All right, seeing none in person or online, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the meeting minutes. However, I do not see a copy of the meeting minutes from the last commission. Are there?
You have them? You don't have them?
Then I would ask the commissioners, without objection, can we approve the meeting minutes at our next meeting?
I think they're downstairs. We can do this later in the agenda. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Then we will,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stein, please.
Thank you. This just raises another question, which I was going to do under the director's report, so I could have a conversation with Justin, but I think it applies for all of us that are sitting around this table. We're commissioners, and the staff serves at the pleasure of us. It's not the other way around. And people, whether it's the general public, but I'm just going to talk about commissioners, need to get their reports in advance so we can study. I'll give you your chance, Justin. Just let me finish.
Executive Director, if we can let Commissioner Stein please finish.
And basically, there are any number of reports over the several months that we've met that those were faxed out as I was driving down to a commission meeting. There was a letter that went in from Unring LA, and the only reason that I know about that, not that I ever got it in my packet, after I called staff and asked for it, is a council member at 9:30 in the morning started bombarding me with, what do you think of this letter? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? That's truly not the way that I want to be in a position to respond to that, whether that letter is accurate or not accurate. I believe the 12 of us are entitled to get that. In addition, I had to ask whether or not there were any reports to go over, and when I asked for that, it wasn't even scanned over to me. Now, I understand it's posted on the website, but it's not our duty to go to the website. It's the duty of staff to notify us whether it's comments from the public, whether it's reports. This may just be an oversight, which the chair is bringing up, of not having the minutes from the last meeting. You can easily go and Xerox them. But we're entitled to this, and the public is entitled to this, and now I yield to the executive director.
The facts are that we send reports in advance, we send minutes in advance, though they weren't physically printed fast enough today. They were sent in advance to the commissioners. Even, let's say there's a committee report on personnel and budget, we send that obviously to the committee, but we send that to the entire commission at the same time. It's also posted at the website. So we send these things in advance, and if any commissioner wants it printed out at the same time, we can print it out and bring it to them. Some commissioners have also asked us not to print out things in advance, and that's fine. That works if you want to save paper. Not everyone's a paper person.
Well,
so we're getting you those, those things in advance. So,
Commissioners, real quick.
I know the audience, please stay out of it.
Commissioner Stein, just real quick. I don't mind that we're having this discussion. This is what I would ask the commissioners, is if we could move on from approval of the minutes to the executive director report on outreach and other matters. Allow the executive director to give his report. Continue with the questioning, the multiple questions I have, multiple commissioners in the queue, and just cover it there if that's all right.
Could we just get the copies of what Mr. Kwan gave to our ED, if you could pass them around? Thank you.
Oh. All right, so we're going to go to the executive director report on outreach and other matters, and then continue with the discussion.
sure. As I said in my report, it's a brief update since we just met a couple weeks ago. But the main thing I just want to talk about that I've talked to definitely, I think I've mentioned before, but I want to go more in depth, is that we are working with several different offices in coordination with both council and the mayor's office for having additional staff, either part-time or, if we're lucky, truly, full-time additional staff from throughout the city help when it comes to the expansive research that we're doing now that committees have moved items forward, as well as just when we get to the charter language writing. So that is definitely moving forward. I'll have a better update on like exact numbers, hopefully at our January, I think it's 7th meeting, as we'll be working a little bit on the holidays with various departments. To be clear, most of these departments have been very helpful up to this, to this date. With all of the reports, we periodically make sure that expertise is used and helping to review the documents, which is part of the reason that it takes a lot of time to get these documents through the various offices that we want to make sure that we have the expertise on. So we thank everyone, all the city employees that have been helping us. Of course, we thank all the community groups that have also submitted their recommendations, as we've said before, including later today, where we go here soon when we talk about this next presentation. This is a compilation of recommendations from community groups and from departments. So those are all put together, but again, we'll have more staff augmenting our team in January and beyond to make sure that we cross the finish line and delivering our recommendations, your recommendations, on April 2nd, if not before.
I have Commissioner Stein, Fuentes, Schlatter in the queue. Commissioner Stein.
Thank you. Well, let me start out with, I think that all 12 commissioners and all of the staff want one thing, and that is to put the best possible document out that we can regarding charter reform. And I don't have any quarrels that we have differences of opinion on what the goal was from the day that we were appointed until now. That's what we should be doing and working together. My concern is, I'm going to adjust what you just said. May I call you Justin instead of the executive director? Thank you. I'll speak for myself for a moment. And that I'm scared to death that we're not ever going to get through what we intended to get through. And in order to put the most meaningful items as recommendations to the council, and hopefully those recommendations will be approved by the council or not so modified that we don't even recognize what our recommendations were in the first place. But we're running out of time, and you brought up, well, we have other departments that are working for us. Well, some of those might have their own vested interest when they're helping write up the red line language. I might want to suggest that with our budget, you hire one additional staff member. And I know you and I had this conversation yesterday, so I don't want to hide anything of what went on. And you brought up a very good point, and that's who in the heck wants to come to work for 2 months or 3 months and when there's no job after that. And I took that to heart, and I thought about it last night. And perhaps a retired attorney or a retired city attorney that knows about the processes within the city could be that staffer that we hire to more or less speed things up, because clearly you're going to have this big bag that's going to be coming to you at one time, and I'm not sure we have the resources to do it without hiring someone else. In addition, and I've never spoke to Carla about this, but she shakes her head many times when I say it, we have too many items. We have too many items that we're considering. I mean, we had, from the very beginning, we had a very short time span, very much unlike Mr. Schottenheim's or Mr. Chemerinsky's time period. And even when Mr. Chemerinsky spoke to the commission on video that one day, he said, guys, don't try to reform the world. You don't have that much time. Pick 5 or 6 issues that you think are the most important. If you get past that, that's fine, but pick 5 or 6. So one of the thoughts that I had was perhaps why don't we form a 5-person policy committee and allow those 5 members, they will obviously be selected by the chair with, I'm sure, input from the executive director, and I'm sure with input from commissioners, because some of the commissioners probably don't want any more additional work, because we have a pretty heavy schedule coming up, and the number of meetings is much more than we anticipated. And that's not trying to shift the blame to anyone of why that occurred, it just has occurred. But if we have this policy commission, subcommittee, allow them to meet once a week and allow them to sift through all of the issues and make a determination. Commission issue A is not important, commission B, issue B is. And then that report be written up that day or the next day by staff, faxed out to all of us, and then at the very next commission meeting, it's a full commission meeting, the commission can say, we agree with you, we disagree with you, we agree on 1, 2, and 3, but don't agree on 3, 4, and 5. And I think it would take some of the burden off of staff. I think it would take some of the burden off the commissioners who at times look at this and just say, we're never voting. And I've heard the arguments of why, but if we could set up this committee just on policy, not to make a decision of policy's right or wrong, but if that policy is important enough that it be included on something that the full commission is going to debate.
Yeah, again, I always appreciate your input and your ideas and your thought. You are definitely thinking a lot about this outside of these commission meetings, and I appreciate you so for that. I think a lot of what you directed towards me was also directed to your colleagues. Commissioners need to start narrowing down things, and as executive director, I am saying commissioners need to start narrowing down things, because some things that have come out of committee already partially conflict with each other. But that process, I think the process can still keep on working as it is, but happy to talk and work on a proposal for something something along the lines that you're talking about. I don't think it's a bad idea at all, but I think there's a way of also still going through this process that's going and making sure and pushing the committees to have that gut check. And I think now that we're basically in 2026, committees have to look at the time calendar and feel that gut check and be like, even as committee members and of course as staff, it was never our charge to go through the whole charter and redo the whole charter. Very limited charge was approved by this commission when they approved both the outreach engagement plan and then the committee structure. Those were things that were both approved by this committee that had subject areas to study, broad, some of them narrowed in part as well. Some things have already been added since, and some things have also, to your point on infrastructure and planning, which you serve on, have been permanently taken off the table, and that's helpful. Narrowing down, I think we need to keep on doing that with other committees as the process. Infrastructure and planning is a little further than the other committees. We've learned a lot in that process, thanks to the work of your committee and the full commission as they've gotten further in the process than the other committees. And I think we can still keep on going down that, but I think, again, always happy to iterate, always happy to keep on making improvements as we are building this plane in the air. And that is definitely what we are doing to get it landed first week of April in a safe, complete manner.
Do I need to make a motion to have that on next agenda to vote on to set up the policy? Or you tell me, or the city attorney tells me?
I'll work with you in advance. If it needs to be agendized, then we can do it. It doesn't have to necessarily be a motion here. It can be agendized separately for that meeting, but happy to work with you in advance.
Thank you so much.
Again, appreciate your thought process and your time on this.
I have Commissioners Fuentes, Schlatter, and then myself on the queue. Commissioner Fuentes.
Commissioner Field asked what I was gonna ask.
Commissioner Schlatter.
My primary comment was around the minutes, so I'd like to come back to it when we talk about the minutes. I just do want to underscore this request and, let me say, expectation, if not instruction, that we need to have the materials both posted and provided to commissioners, at least a day in advance. And I don't think that we should act on anything or discuss anything that hasn't been provided us with time to consider, with the exception of emergency or agenda items. And only because I feel like I need to chime in somewhat on a portion of the exchange that just occurred. I'm frustrated at statements that indicate that we have some kind of limited charge here as a commission. That is not correct. We are here to look at as much of the charter as we choose to look at and as we have time and is practical to look at and deliberate upon. Mr. Chair, you have set forth a structure for us to do that, and one that we have all affirmed is able to evolve, able to expand as necessary and adjust to the conditions and findings that we make. I just would like to be clear. I hear Commissioner Stein trying to find a way to ensure that we are working through priority topics. I welcome that pursuit of the goal, whether it's the structure you laid out or continuing forth with, the process we're on. It is the chairs of these committees and the chair of this commission's leadership in giving us as functional and as efficient a process as possible. And with that, we will get at as much of the charter as we can and as we decide to. And there is no external limitation to what we look at as this commission. Thank you.
If I may, I'm sorry, to clarify, what I meant was, in the 99 process, they were sitting down and rewriting the whole thing, and they were asked to do that. We weren't necessarily asked to do that, but that didn't mean that anything was off limits. And that's what I meant to say. If that's what it sounded, I can't apologize.
Thank you for that clarification. It is a different situation we're under, no doubt. I appreciate your clarification.
Yeah, sorry about that. And to be clear, for even this report, I just want to make sure, this report, I believe, was sent to all the commissioners on Friday, and I hope all the commissioners got it on Friday.
Which report are you speaking about?
The personnel, and the one that we're discussing today.
The report has been submitted. Your director's report has not been submitted, and these.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay. And these minutes were not. Thank you.
I believe the minutes, I'll double check if they were not submitted on time.
I'm not trying to argue with you. The minutes were not sent out in advance. They were sent out today. I responded to them today. We'll talk about it when the minutes are here.
Mr. Chair, I don't want to cut into your time, but I have one comment. I check religiously of my Gmail account because of the fact that's the only Gmail account I have, so it's not checking personal stuff. And I never received anything regarding whether or not what occurred at Personnel and Budget Committee's meeting last week. I heard about it from a couple of other commissioners, but never received it.
But you got the report.
What?
Correct? You got the report though.
I did not get the report until I walked in here this morning. They were kind enough to put it here.
I have an email showing that we sent you the report.
All right, I just want, Mr. Chair, we shouldn't be arguing about this. We have clear expectations of how the material is gonna be received, and maybe it's not working. And maybe we need, per my previous comments to this commission, we need a simplified structure and repository where we know we can find the information when we need it, and it's not the website, because all of these materials are changing regularly as things are being added to the agenda. But this is not for us to be arguing about here. We just need to, it's clear. We're not in a unified sense getting materials on time, reliably, and we need to fix it.
I have myself in the queue, followed by Commissioner Field. I also agree with the expectation of the commission that all the materials should be posted at a minimum of 24 hours, including the executive director's report, and that, as we do almost most of the time, post materials well in advance of that. I will ask commissioners to please be more alert of their email. I understand that some of us have a variety of being alert to email, and that's understandable. But I just will ask commissioners moving forward to be more alert of their email for materials. I will also say, in order to prevent some of the misunderstandings, that all materials that are sent to us electronically on the day of the meeting also be printed for every commissioner. And that should be the practice moving forward. On the discussion that has taken place thus far on the work of the commission up until April 2nd, Commissioner Stein, I share many of your concerns, many. I have asked the committee chairs to, within their committees, start a process very quickly at their next committee meetings to narrow down the items for them to consider. My intent there was for the committee members who have been working now, some committees, for months, not to feel like the rug is pulled under them by another group or the entire commission, but to do it within their committees. However, if you would like to have discussions, I'm open to other alternatives, but that was the intent, to let the committees narrow it down and say to this commission, as the body that has studied them, heard the presentations, done the work, this is what we narrow down and this is what we're going to focus. And I appreciate Commissioner Mack's comments at the last meeting where we talked about affordable housing and what happens to the items that a committee or the commission decides that we do not, or for whatever reason are not going to address, and how that gets reflected in the report. So that's how I would like to proceed with the committees narrowing it down and then letting the full commission know. But if you would like to proceed in another manner, happy to work on it offline to present in a formal motion or some other way to the commission. But I appreciate you raising those concerns because I have them as well. Thank you. Commissioner Field.
Just regarding the possible motion that Commissioner Stein and our ED and our chair might be discussing, I just urge that this potential policy committee be an ad hoc committee. We don't have time for any more regular committees. They should be structured as a short-term, sit down however many times, and come back to the full commission, obviously, hey, here's where we think the priorities should be, and move from there. But I don't think it should be a regular committee. Ad hoc is more efficient. Thanks.
And I join with that. I think it should be an ad hoc.
Any other questions or comments on the executive director report?
It's not in the report, but I have a question. Well, it's dealing with scheduling, so I guess it's technically. When we do town halls, which we have a number of those coming up, will we still be able to vote on those town hall meetings?
Yeah, town hall doesn't have a definition other than what was given in the ordinance that created this commission.
that asked us to have 15 town halls, one in each district. So whenever we're out in the district, we definitely have, we call them town halls to meet that definition, but they could be deliberative, there could be votes, there could be, we had that open house one that was a town hall at Echo Park as an example, so we were, thank you, no problem.
Commissioner Fuentes.
For this outreach edition, the City Fabric Engagement Update, would it be possible for you all to connect about adding a click-through rate for the newsletter, subscribers, and open rates?
I want to say the target is 30%, but I will double check on that.
Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, seeing no more questions on the executive director's report, we'll move on to, commissioners, you tell me, I get a sense that we still want to postpone the discussion on the minutes so that commissioners have time to review? Or
I'll move to postpone this item with the recognition that it's also incomplete and request an updated version. Thank you.
second, Commissioner Schladiger motions to postpone until our next meeting. I second. Is there any objection? All right, seeing none, we will postpone approval of the minutes until our next meeting. We now move on to item number 1 on the agenda, which is discussion relative to potential personnel and budget-related charter amendments. Just want to open this up, commissioners, by talking about how the work is going to flow for this item. I'm going to ask the staff to come and walk us through the entire staff report. We have a copy of the staff report. What they are going to go through is the PowerPoint presentations that we all have a copy of as well. After that, I will ask Chair Mack and Commissioner Field to add anything that they feel will help the commission in discussion. And I say discussion because this committee has not yet done deliberations to vote yet, like other committees have, and I want to give them the opportunity to do that, just as we've done with other committees. So what we'll do is so we'll get the staff report, Commissioner Mack, Commissioner Field will add what they feel will be helpful for the discussion, and then open it up to questions and discussions on each of the subject areas. But we're not going to go line by line to take votes just because the committee has not deliberated. Also, Commissioner Thomas is absent today and very much requested to be part of any meeting where there would be votes, and in respect to him, I also want to do that. All right,
Lisa, is it possible for me to open with some beginning remarks before we go into staff report?
Absolutely, please, Commissioner Mack.
So I think a couple of things. I think I just want to say that I do agree that it is a miss, and it's pretty unfortunate that Commissioner Thomas isn't here today. He expressed to me that he wanted to be here despite this being a temperature check and we're not voting. He wanted to be here for the conversation. I wanted him here for the conversation. He brings a pretty diverse perspective to this committee, so does Commissioner Field, and I think it was my intention to have full committee here, especially because this staff report is, by far not complete. It is a rough draft. I think I just want to be transparent here. I had conversations with staff that for about a month now, I flagged this December 18th date. I questioned the timeline given that we were going to be presented the staff report on December 16th, which is 2 days ago. And so I did flag that back in November, that I wanted this meeting to be rescheduled so that we can have a more built out staff report with more context. As you see today in the staff report, this is merely just a copy and paste of the recommendations that were given to us from presenters and editing and letters, but it doesn't provide any additional context framing or analysis from staff like our previous other committee staff reports have had. We don't have any case studies. I do recognize that we are not voting today and we didn't vote in our committee meetings, but I think just also wanting to provide context that our meeting had our first meeting December 3rd. We've only met twice over a period of 2 weeks, and so pretty rushed timeline. I think I'm just sharing this from the perspective of being on the second committee. I have the privilege of doing so. I'm on the Government Structure Committee. We've been meeting since September. We've had multiple meetings and study sessions before we had a staff report presented to us.
And we had voted, and Commissioner Francis is on that committee with me, we had voted our items to move forward since November, and it still hasn't been met before us in this committee, this full commission. And so I think I'm just comparing the different timelines from Government Structure Committee and this Personnel and Budget Committee that I'm chairing, and I think I'm just trying to understand why is the timeline so different. I do believe that I would want the same amount of time and effort to be put towards this committee. I do think it's a miss that Commissioner Thomas isn't here with us today to be present for the discussion, because I do feel like he provides such diverse insight that I think Commissioner Field and I, we can try our best to summarize, but we do not do it justice. And so I think I just want to start with that. And then Commissioner Field, if you want to add anything, I know you're also on the committee, so.
Yes, and I guess what I want to say is, you know, at our committee, I asked that we start with the most complex topic with 13 items, which is about LAPD. Tonight, I actually want to request on behalf of our colleague, Commissioner Thomas, that we not have that in the report. He really, really wants to be with us when we go into that discussion. And as Chair Mack said, we didn't vote anyway on any of it. I would really prefer that we focus on I think there's 3 other items on the report for our committee's topic. And I would ask, you know, that we not talk about the police until we can have a commission meeting early, hopefully very, very soon in the new year, so that our colleague can be with us.
I don't know if it is. I would second it to defer that part of the discussion on police reform in deference to.
Doesn't have to be a motion.
Okay, I would join with Commissioner Field in asking, because I spoke with Mr. Thomas and he specifically asked me, but Mona beat me to the punch, which is fine. That he would like to see nothing discussed until such time as that he'd be back here, because that is the most passionate issue on charter reform that I believe Commissioner Thomas wants to discuss and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. What we can do is proceed with the staff report with all the items except for police reform.
Well, I think we're going to get the screen set up here in a second. Give us a second, but definitely understand everything that Commissioner Mack said about, you know, there was the process is where it was. And one of the big things we were waiting on, of course, that we've been very public, is personnel, which is a big part of it. And while we were waiting, things just got delayed. We have a little more clarification on the personnel process because of meet and confer, and we're waiting for that decision on meet and confer, so that's why this got queued up a little further. So I definitely understand the frustration, and we will work to improve, of course, always our work product. As you know, with the first staff report at the government structure, we took a lot of notes and we put in, and we made a lot of changes and worked with committee members to make those changes, and we'll continue to do so with each and every report.
I do have one follow-up question, clarification for you, Executive Director.
Sure.
I think in our last committee meeting on Tuesday, you mentioned that I saw staff taking a bunch of notes on all of the questions and all of the follow-ups that we wanted. You did make a comment and say that staff wouldn't be able to make any adjustments until we vote to move forward with any of the items. So I think my clarifying question then is the next time when our committee meets and votes on what we want to move forward, is there going to be any adjustments to the things that we asked, or are we expected to vote on this exact same staff report that is presented in front of us?
Yeah, I think we made a couple adjustments, like for example, between, you know, there were some like, CLA recommended this, we make sure that that was noted. I think we're still going through it before it gets through to the committee meeting. You'll see some updates at the committee meeting as we've discussed. Yeah. The difference is that I know the commissioners discussed specific charter language that they ultimately would like to move forward. That won't be, and I said that at the meeting, that won't be a part of that updated report, just because that has to happen when commissioners take votes, which didn't happen that day and won't happen tonight.
Yes. Clarifying though, there was a couple of requests that our committee members had in terms of more context, and just for us to even make an educated decision on whether or not we want to move forward. We made a lot of those requests. It was basically the whole staff report given the timeline that we had, and the honestly the substance that is in the staff report. Are we going to see more adjustments in terms of that before we vote?
Sure, and we're probably going to sit down with you before then to go through it, much like we did with Chair Andrades. We sat down with him, and he actually took the document and just tagged things, so we're happy to talk about that offline.
Just want to make sure our committees are well informed before.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question for Chair Mack of that committee. So since we sit on the same committee and in comparison, completely agree with your point here, there's not a lot of context given. Do you feel like once those additions are made, there will be an adequate amount of time if we're talking about meeting again in early January? That's my concern here. This document is already 51 pages long, so the additional context that's going to be added, I'm scared this is just gonna happen over and over again.
No, I think that's a fair point. I mean, we're always going to have the trade-off between time, and I think that has been the common phrase that we've heard in this commission is we don't have enough time and we gotta go. But I think you all know this about me, is that I really value having meaningful conversation and complete. And I know we're on a tight timeline, but I don't think, at least the staff report in front of us today, is one where I feel comfortable. And I think I can say that my committee members also doesn't feel comfortable making decisions based on what we have here in front of us. And so I think that's my point. It sounds like Justin and staff is going to work on getting us more context, and so that's what I'm looking forward to.
I hear that. I think my confusion is more so we're gonna sit for a presentation on a report that wasn't substantial, or like has no substance.
Which is exactly why I was flagging this date to begin with, because I had concerns on the purpose of this meeting given the quality. And so wanted to level set that with you all today as we go into this report and just manage your expectations and level set.
Commissioner Schlatter. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chair Mack. The challenge that I want to express here and will defer to guidance about how to carry out this meeting is if additional progress is being made on this report for the committee to consider again. And if I have thoughts that expand upon or go beyond the report that's on the table regarding police reform in particular, how should I provide that such that it's timely for the committee to consider it? Would you like me to submit that in writing separate from this meeting? And, or is it a missed opportunity for us to have dialogue on that topic here? I will follow your instruction, but I want some guidance about how to contribute. Thank you.
Specifically on the topic of police reform, I think there is a clear, overwhelming majority on the commission to forego the topic for today in respect of Commissioner Thomas. Although the trade-off is it is a missed opportunity, however, we want to respect where the commission is at. I would actually ask that maybe in consultation with the city attorney to make sure there's no Brown Act complications, that you sit down with Commissioner Mack to give the feedback, or if you prefer to give it in writing, but whatever method you prefer.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you. I have a question about process. So regardless of where we end up with the staff report, if it's tweaked from what we're looking at right now, there are 6 proposed reform areas, and each of those 6 areas have subpoints or various components to them. Whenever we vote to push these forward, I'm assuming, I want to get clarity now, that there could be elements under each reform area that we want to push forward, others we aren't necessarily wanting to push forward. Are we literally going to vote on each one of these components? So there's 6 areas. Let's say on average they all have, let's say, 6 components. So it's 36 hypothetically. Are we literally going to vote? I should be looking over here. Are we literally going to vote yea or nay on all 36 of these? How, from a process standpoint, how will it?
Not today.
Not today, but at any point.
But what will most likely happen is the committee will continue to do its work. They will have some initial deliberations and votes of narrowing it down and areas where they're going to want to focus on, and then they will come and report back to the commission, and we will have a discussion on affirming that through votes, and maybe perhaps making slight modifications. And the way we did it for infrastructure and planning was we did go line by line, but most of the votes were in the subject areas. So it wasn't like in this example, like 37 individual votes. It was more like 10 votes.
Right. So it was a vote on the proposed reform area, let's say hypothetically 5 components under that. So that vote was inclusive of all the components under, because as I look at this, there are certain ones that just stand out to me that I absolutely want to push forward. Others, maybe indifferent or maybe, who knows. But what I'm trying to get at is if a vote to push any one area forward, does that mean all of these components move forward or some?
We will go recommendation by recommendation. So that
subcomponent essentially
may and some may not.
Okay.
Correct. Or all, depending on the discussion and the motion that is made.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to hand it over to staff.
Okay, I think my colleague Kate is getting the presentation on the Zoom ready. Kate, are you able to? I think it's on the Zoom. Oh, it's on the screen. Perfect.
Can you see the presentation, just making sure.
Okay, 1 second. Want to make sure our Zoom folks have the same visibility. Perfect. Okay, and let me just kick us off now with this report that again was presented Tuesday. Again, the plan was and what we did on Tuesday as Commissioner Mack mentioned that it was first pass reading. We got lots of notes. The public had lots of opportunity to opine and give their public comment as they did today. And we hope to go through it the same way today, get really temperature checks and make sure that the commissioners know what subject areas are being discussed. And then just keep on moving it down. This is just an opportunity for airing these again in a public forum. And we're just gonna, I'll have some notes on the back end, but let's get kick started. I'm gonna turn it over to my colleague, Brianna.
Hi, so we can get started with the budget process. So the first one is to develop.
May I really quick, Brianna, the question about the organizations consulted?
Sorry, I skipped that really quick. But yeah, just to, and I've mentioned what I was mentioning earlier in my direct report. These are all the contributors really to this report from the organizations including EAA, LACERS, NC Budget Advocates, Lane, Fair Rep, LA Ford, etc., and then the city departments that are all reflected in here.
And so looking at attachment A in the personnel.
Sure, we're gonna go through the deck first, and then we'll really jump into the questions.
Right, so just want to point out LA Black Workers Center, I see there is input from that organization in the personnel recommendations, but I don't see LA Black Workers Center
Okay,
This-
oh, it didn't make it on the screen,
Yeah.
okay,
So I
yeah.
just wanted to make note of that for the
Perfect,
record.
but the
They should be-
recommendations are here, yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Okay, so the first budget process recommendation is to develop a 2-year operating budget. So this would amend Charter Sections 310 to 315 to establish a 2-year budget cycle. Proponents of a 2-year budget claim that it reduces the repetitive staff work that comes with needing to prepare an annual budget, creates time for and elevates goal setting as part of the budget process, enables a separate dedicated process for capital infrastructure planning, better facilitates public participation, encourages longer-term fiscal planning, and reflects the relatively slow pace of hiring city personnel. So the CAO's approach differs from the controller's a bit. So the CAO's approach includes a transitional year wherein the mayor would prepare a 4-year strategic plan that would set goals, priorities, and performance standards, be updated every 2 years and subject to council approval. Where the controller's approach differs, it suggests alternating each year with a capital infrastructure plan process in year 1 and an operating budget in year 2. In addition to the SIP in year 1, the departmental performance metrics would be established by the mayor, council, and the controller. So number 2 is to adopt a performance-based budgeting. So this would establish in the charter a requirement for budgeting to be based on performance relative to metrics and outcomes determined through the budgeting process. The current process is that the mayor sets the budget priorities and policies in the earliest stage of the budgeting process, and this reform would essentially change this phase to focus on more concrete performance metrics and outcomes. So number 3 would be to increase timeline for considering the mayor's proposed budget and require departments to publicly present initial budget proposals to the Budget and Finance Committee prior to submission to the mayor. So this would establish in the charter a longer time frame for the budget hearing process and require departments to publicly present their budgets to the City Council's Budget and Finance Committee prior to submission to the mayor. Advocates pose that this would increase transparency and civic participation in the budgeting process by allowing a closer look at how the budget evolves as it makes its way through the mayor and the council, as well as providing more opportunities for comment and time to review related reports and analysis. Number 4 is to return to previous council practice for deliberating and voting on budget-related items. So this one is to allow amendments with budget impacts to be voted on at full council rather than automatically sending those amendments to the council's Budget and Finance Committee. The advocates for this state that since COVID, council's practice has shifted to refer any budget-related amendments to be heard and deliberated on to the Budget and Finance Committee first, rather than hearing that amendment directly in the full council. They suggest that this practice unduly elevates the power of the council president and the members of the Budget and Finance Committee by requiring other council members to rely on those colleagues to have their term items heard and incorporated. Number 5 is to increase opportunities for in-person and remote public comment at budget meetings and incorporate a civic assembly into the budget process. So this would amend the charter to require public comment to be held at every budget hearing, would require remote public comment as an option, and incorporate a civic assembly into the budgeting process. Previously, it was common practice to hold public comment at each budget hearing. However, under the continuous meeting exemption of the Brown Act, the City Council has more recently treated budget hearings as an ongoing meeting, thereby limiting how often public comment is held at meetings. So number 6 is to increase the threshold required for council to override a mayor's veto. So this would be in section 315 of the charter, and it would be amended to increase the city council's vote threshold to 3/4 in order to override a mayoral veto of a budget item. Currently, the threshold set forth in the charter is a 2/3 vote. Advocates of raising the bar by which the council may override a mayoral veto argue argue that doing so will help shift the power structure in the city away from a strong council system, and that it would reduce pressure on city departments from being directed by 15 individual council members. And number 7 is to adopt a community-driven and city-supported participatory budget process. So this would establish in the charter a requirement for an independent budget commission to be established with members of the public to carry out a parallel participatory budgeting process. The stakeholders state that this commission should be fully funded and resourced and have the power to take a vote of approval or no confidence in the city's budget. The intent of such a commission is to assemble a budget directly by members of the public, utilizing public surveys for input, and to have a formal expression of public support for or disapproval of the city's budget. And that's all for budget process. Okay. So the next section is periodic charter review. So this one, periodic charter review is currently not discussed in the charter. It is discussed in the Los Angeles Municipal Code. So FARAP LA proposes that this be added to the charter alongside the addition of periodic review. They propose a few specifics to be included in the language, such as create enforceable deadlines for appointments of the CRC members to avoid delays, allow the CRC full scope of charter review, give CRC power to place reforms directly on the ballot, provide commission authority over staff and budget to provide further independence, increase the number of commissioners chosen via an open application process, establish a permanent charter reform commission that focuses on charter review more consistently, add civic assemblies to the process to allow for greater diversity and representation and participation, and increase frequency of charter review from 10 years in ordinance to 5 years. The next section is LACERS, the LA City Employees Retirement System. So the first one is to allow LACERS to set the frequency and timing of its board meetings. So Charter Section 503B regulates that boards must hold a regular meeting at least twice a month, which the LACERS board does on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. They refer to a 2019 study that reported having meetings twice a month is unusually frequent and requires a substantial amount of time and resources from the board and staff. So LACERS proposes amending the city charter to allow the board to set its own meeting schedule, as it will allow increased flexibility to adopt modern governance practices, improve efficiency, and lessen administrative burdens, while still maintaining the option for frequent meetings if necessary. The second is to require actuarial studies to be reimbursed by the proponents for pension system ballot initiatives. So Section 1168B of the Charter requires the council to be advised in writing by an enrolled actuary to anticipate the cost of any benefit increases. However, this requirement does not apply for pension reform measures that are presented through the initiative process. LACERS argues without actuarial input, the fiscal impacts of these proposals may not be fully understood before action is taken. Number 3 is to grant the LACERS board independent authority to select its chief executive. So Section 1108B makes the appointment of LACERS general managers subject to confirmation by both the mayor and the city council, which they argue limits the board's ability to exercise full authority over executive leadership and requires participation in the process from parties who have no fiduciary duty to LACERS. They argue this authority would strengthen governance by ensuring that leadership appointments reflect qualifications and alignment with the system's mission. They also argue the independence enhances fiduciary oversight, operational stability, and the leadership framework necessary to safeguard members' benefits and the trust fund's financial integrity over time. Number 4 is to grant LACERS the authority to retain its own legal counsel for all purposes. So LACERS is required to use the city attorney as his designated general counsel. There is also a city attorney's public pensions general counsel division that provides legal services dedicated to the city's 3 retirement systems. There are established policies and procedures for the LACERS board to contract outside counsel for specialized advice and services, and to ensure that LACERS can retain independent counsel when the city attorney deems there is a conflict of interest. However, it is different than Lacers having their own authority to retain its own legal counsel for all purposes. Providing this authority to Lacers would expand their board's ability to exercise its fiduciary independence and reduce concerns over delays and challenges obtaining representation in the event of a conflict of interest. And then lastly is artificial intelligence procurement. So one is the community-involved surveillance technology adoption. So the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy proposed that residents and public sector workers should have a say in the introduction of new surveillance systems and technologies, and recipients of city services should also have a voice in the systems the government sets up for them. The second one is to ensure job protections with artificial intelligence adoption. So the charter currently does not address artificial intelligence procurement. In response to this, the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy discusses the need for requirements ensuring that using AI will not lead to job losses for public sector workers, but will augment their work and help them be more productive in their service to the public, yes, and rather than replace them. And then the last one is to introduce procurement standards to protect ownership of the city's data and protect the privacy of LA City residents. So the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy discusses without artificial intelligence procurement standards or standards in general addressed in the charter, residents of Los Angeles' privacy and ownership of the city's data is at risk. So in response to this, they propose to amend Section 370 of the charter to include additional requirements within the contracting process, requiring the city to answer a set of questions before signing a contract related to AI. And some of those questions are: why this technology is needed, are there pre-existing protections against this type of artificial intelligence taking jobs, are there pre-existing systems in place for human oversight, has this technology been evaluated, and what is the data that this technology will obtain during this contract?
And again, we really, as the general manager for personnel, Leica has said, that we're hoping to come back and get recommendations from personnel in the new year, which will definitely fill out the personnel side of this report. But we have to work with them on this. We can't, especially because of MINFER and California State law, get ahead of it. But I'll have some good news for the commission and the public, hopefully in the very near future as well. Additionally, thanks to the meeting on Tuesday, we had recommendations here from Lacers. They only wanted to send a letter, but when the committee members said they'd love a presentation from Lacers, we were able to go back to Lacers and say the committee has asked for this. So Lacers staff will be likely presenting at their next committee meeting, so we're looking forward to that. And I believe that wraps up the comments on that. Oh, and I think the reason we left off the black workers is because specifically black workers had personnel recommendations that we'll fill out on the personnel side later down the road. I think that was right, to be fair. And next steps, you see these next steps and the timeline. The committee meets January 15th. It's going to be a long meeting. We at least, as a sneak peek, I can say that we have procurement as a subject matter also for that meeting. We have the proprietaries, which are LAWA, LLA, DWP, and the port coming to present hopefully jointly on that, plus Lacers, plus hopefully some personnel stuff. So stay tuned as we are building out that very full agenda. And happy to turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Open it up to commissioners. I just wanted to see if Commissioner Mack or Field wanted to add anything before we open it up to the rest of the commission.
I think I would just add for level setting as well, open for Commissioner Field to ask questions on this section as well, because I know you had to leave the committee meeting at this time, so please ask your questions as well. And it's like, before we hop into everything, and I'm gonna let y'all all do your questions and temperature check, I think I also just wanna say that although that we have these all section off, I just wanna make it clear that the police reform section that we're not going to touch today also covers a lot on both budget and personnel, and so they're by no means separate. There's going to be a lot of overlaps. We can't have discussion about budget without police reform because there's a lot of overlaps, and so I just want to make that clear before we hop into it.
Commissioner Field?
Actually, just echoing on budget stuff, we really have to eventually have maybe the committee chairs meet or some communication across committees because of the overlaps. Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yeah, just to Commissioner Mack's point about the overlap with personnel, since we have to pause on personnel, get their recommendations back, reformat it to meet the report, does that mean, in your opinion, we should pause discussions on police reform and the other issues that intersect with personnel? Or are we able to move forward with discussing those at our next meeting?
Let me address that. I think, Justin, what would be helpful at the next full commission meeting is either for the city attorney, most likely the city attorney, or personnel to talk to the full commission about the meet and confer process that has to be engaged with labor unions and state law and how that intersects with the ability of the commission to make recommendations.
I just want to say, very, very true, Commissioner Fuentes. A lot of that, because of that overlap, we will need legal guidance on that, on what this commission is capable of doing in the process.
That makes sense. I'm just a little bit worried since we mentioned the next time we talk about the report is like closer to January, so I don't know how much of that information they'd be able to provide within that window before we discuss again, but I appreciate what you said.
I would just say that a lot of the police reform recommendations in our section also just as much coincides with the budget, and so we can have those discussions too.
And I'll take any other commissioners. I do want to say that there are commission meetings that are on calendar right now where the topic has not been defined. Those will most likely be full commission meetings to discuss the issues that overlap, which are multiple, including budget. And so the plan is to do just exactly that. Any other commissioners have questions or comments at this point? All right, seeing none, I'd like to have a motion. Oh, sorry.
You've opened it up to any questions at all as feedback on this report?
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sure I do have some. Forgive me, I was trying to keep up on the wide range of topics here. In the budget process, there is some comment about SB 707. I was unclear about the specifics of that and simply reading the report, so I would like a better understanding because it overlapped with a couple of different points of recommendations about, how that is going to apply to the city and whether that impacts any of our recommendations. I do want to say, while I'm interested in understanding that, it's still my expectation that any of our recommendations are likely to have to comply with state law. And so it may not matter in the end if we have an intent that we want to state in the charter, but it also can help us prioritize if we know that there are other vehicles to achieve, these objectives. So that's how I'd like to understand that, and we don't have to go into that today unless you're prepared to, but I am interested in understanding that more.
Yeah, I can just say, at least I know their council has requested the city attorney and city clerk to report back on that item, on the new state law that goes into effect July 1. So we'll see that report, and we'll be able to see what effects that has as well. And I've got a city attorney here who can also advise. This is
Struck and Fall. So
Yes, I can get you a memo on SB 707. The truth of the matter is, well, what you said is correct, obviously. Anything you do is going to have to be consistent with the Brown Act requirements. SB 707 probably, I guess, is not going to affect what you would be doing. It has two main parts. One part concerns what's called eligible legislative bodies, which in that case is going to be the city council. So that's probably, and it requires a remote public comment. I don't think that's going to affect your decisions. The second part are a handful of miscellaneous things that allow expanded remote participation by members if they have a disability, tweaks to the just cause provision, slight alterations on subsidiary bodies and what we have to take public comment on in council for certain kinds of committees. Again, I'll write this up for you, but I don't think it's going to affect your decisions. I don't see how it would.
Sure, no, I appreciate the information and for staff to be able to point out where there may be redundancy or overlap with any of the recommendations that do come out of this or the government structure process or whatnot, right?
So far, I haven't seen anything.
That's fine.
I think that will, but I won't swear to that. And of course, I don't know what your final recommendations will be. So.
Exactly, so we'll benefit from your memo. Thank you very much. I appreciate staff's continued attention to that. Mr. Chair, shall I maintain the floor? Feel free to cut me off if anyone else wants to speak up.
I have like maybe one thing, but why don't you continue?
Thank you. I did want to just comment a little bit on the periodic charter review. This is something that I'm, I don't have a position on, and I don't want to appear to be, setting this commission up for any necessary future. It sounds to me like we have recommendations from Fair Rep LA that are the foundation of this report. Are we doing additional analysis, or are we limited by those comments?
If I can jump in really quick, we did request in our committee meeting for more information on that, on what are their numbers, but also, I don't think it's included in this one, but the CLA office did present to us back when we were in Northridge. It was like our second commission meeting, and they also recommended 10 years.
Thank you, Chair Mack. I appreciate that. Understanding what the options are. My instinct is there's a lot of detail that may or may not be appropriate for the charter. So understanding what the options are there is helpful. I'd like to speak to the Lacers item number 1 just briefly. This is about the time and frequency of board meetings. I recognize that you have kept an open door for departments to submit their various recommendations, and we may or may not have received it from everyone. This is a clear recommendation that aligns with my hope that we can remove a lot of archaic material from the charter. The idea that we're specifying days of the week or numbers of days for any commission to meet is silly to me and shouldn't be in the charter for the voters to have to deal with. So I'd like to suggest, if possible, that where we find such language around any other commission or body, and that can include the council as well, that we should have it in front of us to be able to clean up those cobwebs. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll note on the commission point, I know the mayor's office, who appoints most commissioners, is working on a set of recommendations to send our way as well.
Okay.
So hopefully that could be one of them.
We have, as it relates to the Lacers item number 4, we've received, again, this is a sort of repeat comment that we've received from others, which has given me the ability to hire my own city attorney. So I know also that our government structure is looking at city attorney reform. So I just want to flag that that's one of those areas of overlap that was discussed previously. And I'll just leave one other comment here as we talk about AI procurement, but I understand that procurement may be a topic for a future meeting, so that there's, this will have an even fuller context of possible procurement concepts. When we do talk about protection of privacy, certainly we shouldn't do anything to diminish that here. But I believe we do have city policy around data privacy, so I just wanted to understand the difference between data privacy and other protections that are outlined here. I didn't get a chance to read the detailed material here, but I do think that where data privacy is protected, anonymized data through the new mechanisms of all of our city systems and partnerships are a potential important avenue of city revenue, and so we need to be clear about what we're limiting and what we're protecting and what we're enabling, and that it's a fine balance, I think, where we're still in a very dynamic world. So I would just request that we have a sort of a full context when looking at that item, even while I agree with the natural intent that it's trying to strike here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
I have myself and Commissioner Field in the queue. Any other commissioners want to get in? All right. On periodic charter review, in the next iteration of the report, I think it would just be helpful to have all of the recommendations broken down in this sheet, rather than just one line that says add a periodic charter review to the charter, because there are, as we know, multiple different recommendations for periodic charter review, and I think they need to be separated out. And so that's my feedback on the report. Commissioner Field.
I just want to say that the idea Commissioner Schlager mentioned, make sure that city attorney makes sure we're not going to violate state law regarding, the sort of Open Meeting Act. But I hope it's built into our structure that the city attorney, based on the reports coming out, none of which are final, many of which have not been voted on, kind of do that so that, I'll just throw out a wild example. We, for example, don't start spending commission time or even committee time discussing something that is actually a violation of state or federal law. Why don't we start having the city attorney flag things before we spend a lot of time and then later tell us, oh yeah, well you can't recommend that no matter what. So that's just a request about sort of the process we're in and how little time we have. I hope, did that make sense?
Justin, just a point of clarification. Before this gets posted and circulated, all the staff reports, the city attorney does review them, correct?
1,000%.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, and in that process, the city attorney does just that. That's already been happening and will continue to happen.
Thank you for that.
Any other feedback on the staff report?
Are we doing temperature checks yet, or are you just asking?
I think just because of where we're at in the process with this committee, just general questions. All right, if there's no other questions, can I have a motion to receive and file the report? Moved by Commissioner Murray. Second, Commissioner Field. Is there any objection? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Commissioners, for the discussion on this item. Before we adjourn, I just want to say, Commissioner Stein, I really appreciate your comments at the beginning immediately preceding the Executive Director report about your affirmation of what we were all engaged in this process, which is to create solid recommendations to send to City Council. And I know each and every one of the commissioners have the same intent and spirit that you do. I look forward to the possibility of your motion. It will be included on the agenda if you choose to proceed with the motion. I absolutely, as I said earlier, do believe that this commission needs to narrow down the items, but I do want to hear from all the commissioners on what they think is the best way of doing that, but I do believe there is support for that. So thank you for your comments earlier. If there's any other concluding remarks, then I would ask for a motion to adjourn, but Commissioner Fuentes.
Yeah, just really quickly, I want to recognize all the members of the public that submitted comments, Catalyst California, Ground Game LA, LA Forward Institute, the League, as well as the Black Workers Center. Even though we didn't discuss any of those issues today, they're important, and I'm sure the rest of the commission would agree with me on that. So we look forward to having you all back.
Commissioner Field.
And just along the lines of what we chose to postpone in deference and respect for our colleague, I really ask that as soon as possible there be the full commission meeting in which we do go through that part of the staff report. I don't want it to be delayed to the point where we're unable to focus on those particular items. I also want to say that if I understood correctly from the police department and the commission, police commission, they plan to bring their thinking back to us in the new year. And so that also will be obviously part of the discussion. So far we've heard mostly the voices of community. But anyway, I hope we will expedite the discussion for the full commission on those issues.
Commissioner Mack.
And I think just circling back to what we said earlier, if we could check with city attorney if there's any commissioners that want to express their initial temperature checks or even just feedback on the police reform section. I know we're on a tight timeline, so feel free. I'm open to reaching out to me, having that conversation after checking with city attorney that it's not in violation of any Brown Act rules, but happy to have that or have that written up. I think just open to it, just reach out to me.
Thank you, Commissioner Mack. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Okay, so, Commissioner Stein, second by Commissioner Field. Any objection? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Happy Hanukkah to everyone this week. Happy holidays, happy New Year, everyone. See you in 2026.